October 18, 10 a.m., District Court, courtroom number 4. Very, very sensational already. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers. Ugh, edgelord. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Very well, Mr. Edgelord, your opening statement, please. The prosecution will show the court that at 2:30 p.m. on October 15th, the defendant, Mr. Will Powers, killed fellow actor Jack Hammer in Studio 1 of Global Studios. It is impossible for anyone else to have committed this heinous crime. The evidence presented during the trial will all point to this fact. I see. Very well. I would like to move on to some testimony. Mr. Edgelord, the prosecution may call its first witness. Very well. I call a most familiar face, Detective Gumshoe, to the stand. He's not so reliable. Look at him. He looks dumbfounded. Detective, if you would briefly describe this case to the court. Yes, sir. I'll explain with the guide map here. To understand this case, it's important to grasp the layout of the studio. See? This here is the employee area. The actors did a run-through of their action scenes during the morning here. This is the main gate to the studio. The security lady that works at the studio, is that what he calls her? The security lady that works at the studios was here at 1 p.m. on that day. Past the security station, there is a gate, see? Past that are the studios. And here it is, Studio 1. This is the scene of the murder, where the body was found. Now, on the day of the murder, October 15, there were only 3 people here. In the entire studio? The victim, Jack Hammer, the defendant, Will Powers, and a young woman, the production assistant named Penny. All the production staff were in the employee area until noon. Okay. Then after lunch, the victim, Jack Hammer, went to Studio 1. Right after that, at 1 p.m., the security lady got to the guard station. Now, jump ahead to later that day, 5 p.m. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I think we shouldn't be doing that. The production staff came to Studio 1 to perform a rehearsal. Needless to say, the rehearsal was canceled. But there was also no blood. The time of death was 2:30 p.m. The samurai spear found lodged in the victim's chest was the murder weapon. That's the case, in brief. Anyone like to hear that again? Should I listen to that whole thing again? No, I think we got what he said. I think I can probably remember that. Now that made me paranoid, but we're gonna say we probably can remember that. So the murder weapon was a spear? How medieval. Yeah. Your Honor, this case is quite simple if you ask one question. And that question is, what did the security lady see at the guard station? Understood. Let's call the security officer to the stand. Ugh. She saw a guy in a costume. Will the witness declare her name? My, aren't you a handsome fellow? I'm afraid I'm a bit flustered. Your name, please. Oh, dearie, no need for you to be embarrassed. Just call me Grandma. Ew. Your name, please. Seems Edgeworth has a bit of trouble getting his witness to say their names. Wendy Oldbag, dearie. So just call me, when I was young, now the older children might believe it, but there was this boy, the captain, he called me an old bag. Objection. I object to the witness's talkativeness. Objection sustained. The witness will refrain from rambling on the stand. I was just getting to the good part, dearie. Perhaps we can get to the testimony? Now, the witness was stationed at the main gate on the day of the murder, correct? Yesy, I was. And to get to the scene of the murder, someone would have to pass by you. You know your stuff, dearie. You may begin your testimony. She sure is one old bag. All right, we gotta poke holes in this. We can do that. Witness's account. On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 p.m. Poor old Hammer and the rest had been doing a run-through there since this morning. I had some errands to run that morning. Anyway, it was 1 when I got to the guard station. I was at the main gate from then until 5. Now, the murder happened at 2:30 p.m., right? Interesting to me, because a certain man walked right by me at 2 p.m. It was Powers, that man right there, and he was headed toward the studio. You saw the defendant then? Very well. Must be guilty. That's all they need in this court, is for one person to be like, I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. And then they're like, okay, must be guilty then. Yes, Your Honor. All right, let's cross-examine this witness. On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 p.m. Okay, what do we have? We have the cause of death, the map, the card key, the gate between the entrance and the studios. It says 2 o'clock, photo number 2. We're gonna have to use this at some time. Not right now. And then the spear. Okay. That's fine. Can we press her on this? What errands did you have to run? What kind of errands? Well, you know. Answer the question. Actually, I was watching poor Hammer and Powers, observing, you know. Is that allowed? Observing? Weren't you supposed to be at the guard station? Whippersnapper, I told you I locked the gate, didn't I? I did my job. I'm not sure your boss would see it that way. Anyway, I always watch Hammer's run-throughs, always. Never missed one in all my years. Wow, I want to see a Steel Samurai run-through too. You could quit being a spirit medium and take up guard duty. Not a bad idea. Anyway, it was 1 p.m. when I got to the guard station. I was at the main gate from then until 5. Hold it. So you were watching there the whole time? No breaks? Not even a second? Of course. I'm a professional, you know. Or are you criticizing how I do my job, Whippersnapper? No, it's just after seeing you eating those donuts in the guard station yesterday. I can watch the gate and eat donuts at the same time. Snipper Wapper? Snipper Wapper? Old Windbag is losing it, Nick. Why don't you raise an objection? So the witness was on duty through the afternoon, the whole time. Very well. What did you see? Now, the murder happened at 2:30 p.m. Interesting, because a certain man walked right by me at 2. So that is what the thing says. Also, we have to say what certain man. Hold it. 2 p.m. You're sure? Sure as spit. Well, who was the man? Really, you should try not to get so excited at your age. You might strain something. Now, don't get your skivvies all in a bunch. I'll tell you who it was. It was Powers, that man right there, and he was headed toward the studio. Objection! Let me get this straight, old bag. You've been saying since yesterday that you saw Mr. Powers, correct? But you're talking about the man in this photo, aren't you? Just a moment, Mr. Wright. Let me see that photo. Yeah, there's like no way you can tell who that is. What is this exactly? None other than the Steel Samurai, defender of Neo-Old Tokyo. Miss Oldbag. Is this the Mr. Powers that you saw? Of course! Didn't your mama teach you any sense, Sonny? Anyone can plainly see that's Powers, right? No, they can't. Well, I mean, I wonder... True, Mr. Powers does play the role of the Steel Samurai. But that doesn't mean Mr. Powers is the Steel Samurai. I know that. I wasn't born yesterday. No one in the court is accusing you of that, Miss Witness. He's having trouble calling her old bag, apparently. However, you do not have proof that this person in the photo is Mr. Will Powers, do you? Nosy old man. Of course I have proof. What? Huh? Even Edgelord is surprised. The prosecution would like to ask the witness, please make known all the information in your possession ahead of time. How was I to know everyone would be so nosy? You should all be ashamed, all of you. Anyway, I showed that photo to the young detective. He told me, this isn't any good as evidence, pal. He didn't even give it a second look. Wow, old Windbag has left even Edgelord speechless. She's good. Let's hear about your proof then. Okay, the man in the photo. I never say anything I don't mean, mind you. That morning during the run through the action scene, I saw Powers trip and fall. He broke one of his props. It was a big mess. Apparently, he sprained his ankle pretty bad. Now, look at that picture. You can see he's dragging his leg, see? Clear as day. That's how I knew it was Powers. Happy? So he had sprained his ankle? Very well. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. She's gotta be hiding something. I'll press her until she squeals. The man in the photo. I never say anything I don't mean, mind you. Hold it. Whippersnapper. Hey, I haven't said anything yet. I'll have you know, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone behind their backs. Everything I've said is on the straight and narrow. The up and up. Youths today, always whining about each other. Shush. Mr. Wright, please, for all our sakes, try not to upset the witness. I think Edgelord has met his match. That morning, during the run through the action scene, I saw Powers trip and fall. Trip and fall? Yes, and to think he's supposed to be the Steel Samurai. What a laugh. So Powers sprained his ankle. I helped make it better for him, of course. What? You helped make it better? I kissed it where it hurt. Let's just skip over that part, shall we? Where was the assistant then? Oh, her? She was cleaning up backdrops, I think. She didn't know about Powers' ankle. You may continue your testimony. He broke one of the props. It was a big mess. What prop? He broke a prop? Sure did. His own samurai spear. His samurai spear? The murder weapon? Luckily, I was there with my duct tape to fix it. This strikes me as a significant detail. I'd better write this down in the court record. A break in the shaft had been mended with duct tape. Sorry, duct tape. Not for ducks. For ducts. Apparently, he sprained his ankle pretty bad. How do you know? Was Mr. Powers' ankle badly sprained? Not so bad that he couldn't walk around. He went to his dressing room to rest up after lunch. Thus the nap. Anyway, I saw him dragging his foot when he walked. Dragging his foot. Okay. Think we've heard enough. Haven't we, Your Honor? Well, there is one thing that bothers me, which is, where is this steel samurai costume now? Actually, well, we couldn't find it. We're looking, though. Anyway, that's not important. The witness did see the steel samurai, yes. And it is clear that the person in the steel samurai suit was Mr. Will Powers. I suppose that's right. Yes. Are you sure you're sure, Your Honor? Object. Hold it right there. We keep talking possibilities, but we have to agree that this photo shows the steel samurai. Nowhere in this photo can we see Mr. Will Powers. The defense has a point. I also wonder if someone else not caught on camera could have killed Mr. Hammer. We have to consider that possibility also. Oh. Then allow me to remove that doubt from your mind, Your Honor. Will the witness continue her testimony, please? No need to ask twice. Okay, there's more apparently. The time of poor Hammer's death was 2:30 p.m. True. The only person I saw go to the studio before then was Will Powers. But wait a minute. There's no duct tape on that spear. Wouldn't there be duct tape on the spear? No one else went there. If they had, I would have seen them. So if no one else went to the studio, then it would have to be this steel samurai who did it. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Are you absolutely sure? Quite, Sonny. No one suspicious looking passed by at all. Nobody's suspicious looking? What about someone non-suspicious looking? What about before you got to the guard station? You mean before 1 p.m.? Why, everyone was in the employee area before then. Even you. Look at her in the background eating. She shouldn't be there. She should be at her job. And I locked the main gate so no one could get in. Not to mention, if they had, I would have seen them. Are you sure? The witness has answered the question. Anyone going into the studio had to pass by the witness. That's right, Sonny. You let him have it, edgy boy. Oh, he didn't like that. Old windbag sure has balls. Old windbags have a way of skipping over important details. Or for that matter, entirely forgetting them. How convenient. Something for you to look forward to, perhaps. Hold on. Look at this photograph one more time. This photo was taken by a camera at the gate for the studios, correct? Yes, sirree, Sonny. So whenever anyone passes by here, it automatically takes a picture? And here I thought you didn't know your head from a hole in the ground. Right. Anyway, it's also true that the computer in the guard station records all security cam data. Oh, you know, if you wanted to work at the studio, we might have an opening. That very computer printed out this photo. Note that on the back of the photo are printed words, October 15, 2 p.m., photo number 2. Even I know that means that was taken at 2 p.m. on October 15th. Really, Sonny? Actually, I knew that too. The issue here is the bit at the end where it says photo number 2. Photo number 2? The computer only held data for one photo on that day. Don't you think that's odd? Shouldn't this photo be photo number 1 if it really was the only photo? Order, order. Please tell the court what you mean by this, Mr. Wright. Actually, that's what I want to ask the witness. This evidence shows that not 1, but 2 people went to the studio that day. Yet there is only data for one of the photos. Who could have erased the data for the other photo? Only someone with access. The security lady herself. Eh? Ooh, you watch your mouth, Whippersnapper. The only person I saw that day was Will Powers. But the camera on the gate fired twice. That means 2 people went by. Well, yes, that's what it would seem to mean. Can the witness explain this to the court? I don't understand these newfangled computer things. Edgy boy, help. Huh? Believe me, I want to, but I don't know what this means either. Some help you are. You're a whippersnapper too. Oh. Whippersnapper? Something the matter, Miss Oldbag? Ah, that's right. I just remembered something. Let me guess. Someone else passed by the gate. Someone other than the Steel Samurai. Well, yes, I suppose you could put it that way. I see. Your testimony, please. Okay. The other person. Every day, after I finish my guard duties, I have one other important job to do. I go through the photos recorded on the security computer and check them. I throw out any photos that aren't suspicious looking, you see? Come to think of it, now that I remember throwing out one photo that day. Miss Oldbag, this is the first I've heard of this. Well, of course, Sonny, I only just remembered it. Right. Mr. Wright, please begin the cross-examination. Well, I'd say this was a turn of the unexpected, but I kind of expected this. Every day after I finish my guard duties, I have one other important job to do. I go through the photos recorded on the security computer and check them. How many photos are there usually? On a day when we're open to the public, we get more than 500 people. But on filming days or rehearsal days, well, we don't have much money. We never get more than 50, and that's a big day. Do you back up all of the security camera data? Well, they keep telling me to, yes. But those computers are just so frustrating. I throw out any photos that aren't suspiciously. What does that mean? How exactly do you determine what isn't suspicious looking? Oh, you can tell by looking at their faces, for the most part. For the most part? This is a murder trial, Miss Oldbag. Well, I didn't touch that suspicious-looking Will Powers photo, did I? I think she's missing the point. Come to think of it, now I remember throwing out one photo that day. What photo? Well, who in the heck was in that photo you erased? A fanboy. Fanboy? Steel Samurai fanboys, real freaks if you ask me. They get information about the rehearsals from gosh knows where. They're always hanging about. One was there that day. Wait a second. Didn't you just say no one else could get in? I locked the main gate so no one could get in? Those were your words. Well, if you must know, there's a drain that goes into the employee area. The grate had been loose for a while. It leads outside and, well, that's where they come in. They come in through the drain. I told you they were freaks. Oh, and... They're kids. Children. Whippersnappers. Kids? So on the photo that you erased, it was a boy, probably 2nd or 3rd grade. What? Objection, objection. Order, order. Let me get this straight. You saw 2 people pass by the gate on the way to the studios that day? One was the Steel Samurai dragging his leg. The other was a boy who looked to be in about 2nd or 3rd grade. Oh yes, well we see his type there every day. Can't stop him, can't catch him. A boy in 2nd or 3rd grade? I assume it would be hard, if not impossible, for a young boy to wield the samurai spear. Impossible, I think. It's quite heavy. Right, as I said, I didn't pay him much mind. That's why I erased the data. Nick, what's going on? I mean, the boy was there, that makes him a suspect. Yeah, and they're already trying to unsuspect him. This court will take a 5-minute recess. I want the defense and the prosecution to consider this new information. And no forgetting vital information this time. October 18, 11:08 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby Number 3. Mr. Powers. Yes? Tell me straight, were you really in your dressing room? You didn't go to the studio? I didn't go to the studio! I was sleeping, honest. So who was the Steel Samurai in that security photo? How should I know? The Steel Samurai costume was off in the corner of the dressing room. Anyone could have walked in and taken it, really. What? You should take better care of that stuff. I couldn't imagine anyone who would want to steal a Steel Samurai costume. So where does this leave me? It doesn't look good. What if it was a bunch of children stacked on top of each other? You're the only likely suspect right now. Nick! What are we gonna do? First, we play for more time. We'll start targeting someone else that could conceivably have done this. Right. And it'll take them so long to shoot us down that we can get another day. Right, but if we pick the wrong person, we might lose on the spot. You don't sound very optimistic. I'm not optimistic at all, actually. Hey, Nick. It's time. Okay, let's go. What does that mean? Please don't sigh like that. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Mr. Will Powers. Mr. Edgelord, will you present the prosecution's thoughts on this matter? The prosecution's thoughts are simple. Nothing has changed. The other person who went to the studios was a boy of roughly 10 years of age. The photo we do have may not be hard evidence, but there is still no one else that could have committed this crime. I call for a verdict of guilty for the defendant, Mr. Will Powers. Very well, Mr. Wright, your thoughts? The defense disagrees with the prosecution's claim. There is another person who could have committed the crime. Was it Penny? Order! Interesting. Let us hear who you have in mind. However, be aware that this court does not look kindly on accusing the innocent. If you accuse someone who is obviously innocent, you will be penalized. Right. Great. As if the stakes weren't high enough. So, who was this person other than Mr. Powers who could have committed the murder? I mean, the assistant... No one has said anything about the assistant girl. The security lady does love the other guy. So why would she kill the other guy? But then also the assistant girl, no one knows where she was. She was just like around. Does that mean anything? That means she could have been taking the costume. All right, the assistant. It was the assistant. The Steel Samurai costume was in his dressing room. She stole it, and in doing so, she became the Steel Samurai. So you're saying the Steel Samurai in the picture is really the assistant? That's correct, Your Honor. If you're serious, you've got guts, Mr. Wright. Remember the photo? Wasn't Steel Samurai a little lame? He was dragging his foot, or his legs weren't long enough. Uh-oh, bad feeling time. Remember the testimony concerning Powers' injury? Yeah, Powers and poor Hammer were at the run-through. Oh, and me. What about the assistant? Oh, her? She was cleaning up backdrops, I think. She didn't know about Powers' ankle. Yeah, I remember that. That's why she was shady. The assistant knew nothing about Mr. Powers' injury. She could look the Steel Samurai look with that costume, but she couldn't walk the Steel Samurai walk. She wouldn't have limped. Ugh. That kind of takes the legs out from under that case. Mr. Wright, I'm afraid I have to penalize you, as I warned. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. May we move on, Mr. Wright? Okay. One more chance. I guess it's the security lady then. It was a security lady, Wendy Oldbag. Who? The Steel Samurai is dragging his leg in this picture. That means whoever was in the suit knew about that morning's injury. Maybe because they had been watching the action scene run through? There was only one person other than Powers and Hammer who knew about the injury. The security lady, Oldbag. What? Whippersnapper? Order, order. Is this true, Oldbag? Oldbag? That's Miss Oldbag to you. Miss Oldbag was standing guard, alone at the main gate. She was by herself. In other words, she has no alibi. She could have briefly left the post to steal the samurai costume. Then slipped into Studio 1, the scene of the murder. Why would she go through the trouble of wearing the Steel Samurai costume? Simple, Your Honor. She knew the camera at the gate would take her picture. If she was in his costume, she could point the finger at Mr. Powers. I see. Excellent deductive reasoning, Mr. Wright. Oh yeah, right here, Sherlock Holmes 2, baby. That's odd. Isn't this the part where Edgeworth pounces? Doesn't he usually jump up with an objection and some new evidence? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, does the prosecution have an opinion on this matter? He's thinking. The prosecution has no meaningful objections at this time. What? What's that supposed to mean? Oh, so you all think I did it? Is that it? Edgy boy, don't just do something. Don't just sit there, do something. What's my move? Maybe now's my chance to take this the whole way? The very same reasoning that makes Mr. Powers a suspect in this case can be used to cast doubt on Miss Oldbag's actions on that day. But why would I do something so horrible to poor Hammer? You forget that Mr. Powers lacks a clear motive, too. Indeed. That did it. Now Windbag is one of the suspects. No hard feelings, I hope. Wait just a minute. What about the other person who went to the studio? The boy! The one whose photo I erased. He's only a grade schooler, though, you said. 2nd or 3rd grade, was it? That doesn't matter. When I was that age, I could pin my old man in 10 seconds, tops. Your thoughts, Mr. Wright? That boy is not the killer. What? How can you be so sure? Oh, or is it be nice to the kids and mean to your elders day? I have proof. Proof? Indeed? Then let's see this proof, Mr. Wright. You have proof that shows the boy could not have committed this murder? It's the spear, right?
Take that!
Your Honor, the murder weapon was a samurai spear. That very spear is shown here in the photo. How could the boy have taken the spear? It's impossible. I see. Well, would the witness care to comment on this? The windbag, speechless. This has got to be a first. Very well. This court will suspend proceedings on the current trial for today. Mr. Edgelord, please find out more about your witness, Miss Windy. What was her name? Something Oldbag, Your Honor. Then the prosecution will look further into this Oldbag before we continue. That is all. The court is adjourned. Okay, so maybe the spear is taped in the picture. Wait a second. I'm not gonna just sit here while you run off barking up the wrong tree. Me. I'm talking. Oh, great. Stop the presses. The windbag wants to talk. Miss Oldbag, what is this about? Have you omitted something from your testimony? Actually, if you must know, there's something I was told not to talk about. Not to talk about? By whom? Huh? You mean it wasn't Edgelord who told her not to talk? Well, testify. My lips were sealed. Okay. Global Studios wanted me to keep quiet about something. There were some other people at the studios on the day of the murder. They said they had nothing to do with it, see? So they told me to just pretend they hadn't been at the studios that day. But if you're gonna go accusing me, I'm not letting them get away scot-free. Miss Oldbag, this is crucial information. Why did you keep this from the court until now? Ain't you been listening? They told me to shut my trap, and I always do what I'm told. No, this isn't a bad dream, Your Honor. Witness the power of the old bag. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination. Oh my god, of what? I guess we're just going to be pressing her. Global Studios wanted me to keep quiet about something. So you were told not to talk? That's right, by the studio and the TV bigwigs, no less. Why didn't I hear about this? Don't be too hard on yourself, Sonny. We were all in on it. There were some other people at the studios on the day of the murder. Who were these people? Well, the director and the producer, for starters. The director? We should have known something was fishy. How could they have done a run-through of their action scene without a director? Of course. Yes, well, I was surprised no one asked about it. So, where were these people? The director was in the employee area all morning for the run-through. He joined the producer around lunchtime and they had a meeting after that. Where? Oh, in the Studio 2 trailer, but there's a tree blocking it. Studio 2? There was a Studio 2? Well, if you look at the guide map, here it is. You go through the gate and all the way to the left. But there was a tree blocking it. And the monkey's head was fallen over. Well, Mr. Wright, would you like to continue the cross-examination? I think I've already asked all my questions, but... They said they had nothing to do with it, see? Hold it. Miss Oldbag, this is a trial for murder. I know that's silly. Still, they were pretty convincing about having nothing to do with it. And they gave me a little bonus on the side. So you got your bonus and you still talked. I think I've asked all the questions I have to ask. No. They told me to just pretend they hadn't been at the studio that day. So they were actually in the studio? Yes, the whole day. When they heard about the murder, they beat it before the cops came. I'll kill this woman, I swear. I feel sorry for Edgelord almost. She really left him hanging on this one. Them? Who's them? Who were these people? Oh, okay. Director and producer. Gotcha. Okay, we know this already. Okay. Your Honor, we have learned there were others at the Global Studios on the day in question. The director and the producer and some bigwigs were all present. Yet, as we stand here, they have not been questioned. I hold that it is impossible to declare a verdict on the defendant, Mr. Powers. The court acknowledges the defense's points. The prosecution will gather more information about the witness, Miss Oldbag, and more information about the other people who have just been told of. I understand, Your Honor. This ends the day's proceedings in the trial of Mr. Will Powers. That is all. This court is adjourned. October 18th, 1:04 p.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3. Thank you so much, Mr. Wright. I was right to ask you to defend me. Aw, really? It's nothing. Oh, or should I... We'll be going down to the studio to do some more investigating. We have to find out more about this director and producer. They'll be turning up in the next trial as witnesses for certain. So now's my chance to get material for the cross-examination. So, Nick, have we figured out just who it was in the Steel Samurai costume? Could it really have been Old Windbag? What do you think, Mr. Powers? I don't think it was her, really. Neither do I, Nick. Yeah, I know. Look, I was just buying time back there. Someone had to be the bad guy for a bit to take the pressure off Mr. Powers. Poor Old Windbag. I feel kind of sorry for her. Well, she wasn't winning any points in there, with or without my accusation. Okay, let's get down to the studios. Right, we'll be back to visit you soon. Thanks, guys. To be continued.